The rain came down in sheets so thick it felt like the river itself had decided to climb out of its banks and finish the job upstairs. Every strike against the tin roof sounded like a nail being driven into the night. The Riverside Inn hadn't seen a crowd this thin since the flood of 19, which was to say it had one customer and a bartender who was only still here because the bridges were gone. He sat on the same stool he'd claimed an hour earlier, elbows on the counter, hands cupped around a glass of whiskey he hadn't tasted. His coat, cheap wool, city cut, hung from his shoulders like a drowned thing. Water pooled beneath him and crept outward in slow, deliberate fingers. Mara wiped a glass that didn't need wiping and watched him in the cracked mirror behind the bottles. She'd seen every kind of silence in 23 years of pouring drinks, but this one was new. It wasn't drunk silence, wasn't grieving silence, wasn't even waiting for the cops' silence. It was the silence of a man trying to hold an entire lifetime inside his ribcage without letting a single breath escape. She set the glass down harder than she meant to. "You gonna drink that or let it file a grievance?" His gaze flicked up, met hers in the mirror, then dropped again. Waiting for someone. Storm took out the radio tower at Black Hollow. "Phones are down from here to the state line. Whoever it is, they ain't calling to say they're late." He reached inside his coat, slow, like the motion hurt, and pulled out a photograph folded so many times the creases had gone soft. He laid it on the bar between them as carefully as if it were made of glass. Mara leaned in, a little girl in a purple dress, standing in front of a Christmas tree that had seen better decades. Gap-toothed grin, dark curls, eyes the exact color of the man's own. On the back, in a child's careful block letters, "To Daddy, love always, Ellie." "She's 9 today," he said. His voice cracked like thin ice. "We had a deal. The day she turned 9, I'd come get her. No matter what. She picked this place. Said it looked like somewhere pirates would drink." Mara's scar twitched. She knew the stories mothers told children when fathers disappeared. Pirates, superheroes, men lost at sea, anything but prison. "She knows what I did," he added, reading the question she hadn't asked. "Her mom made sure of that. But Ellie, she wrote me every month. Drew me pictures of this bar. Said when she was big enough to ride the Greyhound alone, she'd be right here on this stool." He tapped the photograph. "Said she'd wear the red raincoat so I'd know her." Mara glanced at the clock above the door, its hands frozen at 11:47 since the last time the power surged, and then at the black windows where the rain threw itself against the glass like it wanted in. "Bridges are gone south of County 12, she said again, softer this time. "Even if the bus made it out of the city, they'd have turned it around at the blockade." He didn't answer, just stared at the whiskey until the surface trembled with each boom of thunder. Minutes bled into an hour. The jukebox had given up halfway through a Patsy Cline song and never started again. Mara restocked the cooler, counted the till twice, pretended not to notice the way his shoulders began to fold inward. Then headlights, weak, sickly, but they're cut through the wall of water outside. A taxi, yellow as a bruised banana, fishtail-ed to a stop in the gravel. The driver didn't get out. Nobody would in this weather unless they were paid triple and hated themselves. The back door opened. Small red raincoat, boots 2 sizes too big, a backpack shaped like a ladybug dragging behind her like it weighed 100 pounds. The bell above the door gave its half-dead jingle. Ellie stepped inside, pushed the hood back, and looked straight at the man who was already off the stool and moving. Water streamed from her curls, from the hem of her coat, from her eyelashes. She was shivering so hard her teeth clicked together like dice. He dropped to his knees 3 feet away, afraid to close the distance, afraid she'd vanish if he blinked. She studied him, really studied him, the way children do when they're deciding whether the world has kept its promises. "You're late, Daddy," she said, voice small but steady. The words broke him clean in half. He opened his arms. She ran. The ladybug backpack thumped to the floor as she launched herself the last 2 steps and hit him hard enough to rock him back on his heels. He caught her, lifted her, pressed his face into the wet curls at her neck like he could breathe her back into the 4 years he'd lost. Mara turned away, throat tight, and reached for the milk instead of the bourbon. She poured 2 glasses, set one on the counter beside the untouched whiskey, and left the bottle where it was. Outside, the rain kept trying to drown the world. Inside, a 9-year-old girl whispered, "I knew you'd come," into the collar of a coat that would never quite be dry again. And for the first time all night, the man drank, deep, grateful swallows of ordinary air that tasted like forgiveness.